Hello, superhumans. I'm Sally Knopp, and we're talking today about Dolores Cannon, QHHT, and her relationship with Nostradamus. It's an astounding story. She began talking to Nostradamus quite by accident when she started. Oh, I think it was about, well, actually, she'd been in the process for about 20 years when this took place. I think this was in the early 80s. And it was quite astounding. The person spontaneously hooked into a student who was working with the great Nostradamus. And Nostradamus, sort of figured out, hey, my student's like doing something strange here. And he started talking to the student. And between the student and Nostradamus, they created a connection. And then Dolores was able then to create a connection directly to Nostradamus. Now, she talks about in this video how the girl that she was with, who just was there for some other reason, it was just an exploration, not about healing, got a little freaked out. The fact that she was talking to Nostradamus. And so she jokes and goes, well, she moved far away. She moved to Alaska, so I couldn't talk to Nostradamus again. Of course, this is well before internet and different techniques that we can now use doing a type of QHHT, not QHHT, but going beyond it. And we can actually do some of these sessions on Zoom, which our clients love doing those Zoom sessions. We'll get into that at the end. But for now, Nostradamus and Dolores developed this relationship. And in fact, in this whole story, and she talks about it in her books, how she develops information or relationship with Nostradamus through several different people that she worked with. People would come and go. And so, but she could almost pick up exactly where she left off, which is so amazing to me, and why I call this channel Miracles of Consciousness, because we talk about all things miraculous when it comes to consciousness. And now it is so great that we begin to understand that this can actually be proven scientifically. But this is not what this video is about. This is about the relationship that Dolores has with Nostradamus. And I'm going to play just a little bit of it for you here. I'll stop it along the way, kind of give you some information as we go along and how I see it from my practice as a QHHT practitioner, and answer any questions that you might have if you leave a comment below. Here we go.
Still difficult to explain to people. But we had time for one more session before she left. I think she was trying to appease me more than anything. And it was help with packing boxes and suitcases. And she was having a garage sale. And she said, I have 1 hour to do the session. And then they were having a going away dinner for her. But during the session, he came through again. And he said, I still want you to do this work. I said, I can't. She's moving away. He said, that doesn't matter. Now that we have made this connection, I will come through anybody you work with. And he gave me the instructions how to locate him and a test to perform so I would know I was actually speaking to him. And this is why it ended up.
I want to talk to you a little bit about that. That is so important. If you do not have a really good QHHT practitioner that knows how to separate out the distorted energy fields that can encase you, some people call them attachments. One of the things that I do with my clients, because I'm also an energy healer, is that we go through and do a complete energy clearing and cleansing to make sure that you don't have any saboteur energies, that you don't have any entity attachments, anything like that. Because what she says there is so important. Because if you do not have that cleared going into a session, the answers that you get may actually be coming from what they call or dub as a trickster energy. Now, that is not somebody that any of us want to be involved in. So it's very important that if you're going to do a QHHT session, that you are actually working with somebody who understands the different levels and making sure that the conduit between you and your higher self, or you, if you want to do a soul to soul conversation with either somebody living or on the other side, that your information comes through clearly and not through a filter of some other energy. Let's continue.
With 3 volumes, because over the course of 3 years, it went through 12 different people. He did what he said. He would come through anybody I worked with. It was like having his telephone number, and I could call him up anytime I wanted, and I'm still able to do it if we want to get some more information. But we successfully translated all of the known prophecies, almost 1,000 of them, and I had the unenviable job of putting them in order, in a chronological order of some kind. It took a computer to do it. But the translations were coming so fast at the height of our work that as fast as I could read them to him, he was giving it back. We were doing 30 translations in an hour. It's absolutely impossible for the human mind to do that. It cannot think that fast. But he was telling me what all the symbols were, the anagrams, and he broke the code. Then I had to use a computer to put it together. So it ended up with 3 books because it took many twists and turns along the way. And none of the people I worked with knew anything about what the other ones had said, but yet they continued the same scenario, the same story he was trying to get across to our time.
And that is so important. That has actually happened with me too, where we've actually gone in with a client and she was actually talking to an ex lover of hers, trying to gain understanding. So it was a soul to soul communication. And we literally could pick up where she left off. And when you're in this deep theta state, you often do not remember what you said, or you can hear what you're saying. It's like it's coming out of you. But as it comes out of you, your mind's sort of thinking, what is going on? Right? So it is interesting that those of us who do quantum healing hypnosis, and we do work with people who have multiple conversations with somebody, either in the other realm or where they need to connect for closure in a relationship here with a higher self permission, we can sort of pick up where we left off, which is so fascinating. Who do you want to talk to, right? It gets better. Continue watching. Oh, I can't believe I just did that.
But I got to know him very well, and he is really a very definite personality, and there was no way we could mistake it when we had contacted him. Okay, because they all described his physical appearance as being the same, but his eyes especially were very penetrating and very strong eyes. But he had a definite temper. He would get very upset with me if I had not done the correct research. He would tell me exactly where to go in the libraries to find the information. And in breaking the code, a lot of it had to do with ancient Greek philosophy, Greek history, and Greek legends, because he said this way he could fool the Inquisition by thinking he was commenting on history. And actually, he was foretelling an event. But when I didn't quite understand what he meant, he kept saying, I'm appalled at your lack of education, because we don't have to learn those things in our time period. But he would tell me where to go in the libraries to find them. And if I did not do the research exactly, he would have this very stern temper. But it was as though you were with a very stern schoolmaster, I think would be the way you would classify it. As though you were a student with someone who had all this knowledge and trying to learn from them. But also, I found out that he was very definitely a male chauvinist. And I said that was okay, because during the time periods he lived in, women were not educated. They were not taught anything. And he didn't have the same relations with women there that we would today. So I could understand that. But it was a very definite personality. The main reason was the Inquisition, because he was living during the time when the church was very powerful, and to do anything like this, he would have been condemned to death, or he said he would have taken his land away and thrown him into prison. So he had all these visions, and what is he going to do with them? At first he was writing them down in a kind of a diary, but he knew that if he died, they would be found and they would be burnt. So how was he supposed to protect the prophecies to get them to our time period for which they were intended? The only way was to devise this code. And anagrams were very popular in France during that time period. So he was using something he was familiar with. And he made these anagrams and puzzles. And there were, that's why he was almost 1,000 of them. He said there were actually about 1,500, but some of them have not survived to our time. But he had to do it to confuse the Inquisition. And it worked, because they have come down to our time, even though they've been undecipherable in most cases. The main reason that he said he was making this contact was because he wanted us to help change the futures. He said, a lot of people don't like Nostradamus because they say he's doom and gloom, very horrible predictions. He said, if I show you the most horrible things man can do to himself, will you do something to stop us? The worst case scenarios of what would happen if nobody did anything at all. He saw time not as one future set in concrete, but as many branches, many probabilities and possibilities off of an event. So he was showing us the worst case scenario off of any of these paths that you continued on. So he believed that mankind could change the future, especially if you knew what that future was. So his job was to tell us, this is what's going to happen if you continue along this path. And he said that man doesn't know the power of his own mind. If you knew what was going to happen and focused on the opposite scenario, the opposite effect, that could be our future. We could create that with our minds. But he also said, if the power of one man's mind is that powerful, imagine the power of group mind. That if you get groups of people focusing on the opposite, on peace and harmony for the world, you could truly create miracles, because the power of the mind at that point would not only be multiplied, it would be squared. The power would be tremendous. And this is what my message has been as I travel all over the world, is tell people they can change the future. They are not puppets. They do not have to go along with what is predicted. We can have a wonderful future if we just know about it, focus on it, use our minds. We're so scattered. Our energy is very scattered. When you focus that energy, it can be tremendous. But the problem is that the predictions are coming true. But if we know we can make changes, maybe that's the point. Will we do it? Mankind does have free will.
And that is where we're going to leave it for today. And in the next video, we will be going from this point forward. What are some of the most famous predictions which have come true? And she did say something earlier in that video, and how even then, they knew the power of the mind. This is an ancient ability, not for just a few, but for every single one of you. Each of you are endowed with these abilities. So it's not like Nostradamus had anything special, or Edgar Casey had anything special, or, me, who's taken 10 years of my life to hone the skill. Each of you listening to this can tap into the higher self. You can get your energy cleared and cleansed and have the ability to hone in on a lot of this information. And you can go exploring. You can learn things about history. You can learn things about yourself. If somebody broke your heart, you could get a better clarity, a broader perspective of why that took place. And as Dolores Cannon would say, what did you learn? And that's what this is so really about. It's not about becoming a psychic spy on somebody. It's about your soul evolving into a greater being. And so if you decide to come back, you can come back as either a guide or a helper, a healer, or you could come back and just observe. The possibilities are endless in this. And remember, consciousness is not outside of or inside of us. It is actually outside of us. And the brain is the receiver. And what you can learn to do with it, you'll never have to rely on anybody for your own healing again. You can rely on yourself for information. It truly is igniting the superhuman in you. And we're going to talk more about this in the next video coming up, which is what are some of the most famous predictions that have come true. And we'll go beyond that too. But for this video, we're going to end it for now. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, leave a comment, and whoa, wait, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button too, so you don't miss an interesting upload on Dolores Cannon and Nostradamus and my word. What else am I going to put up? Take care for now.